Welcome to Universally Judged with Sierra Burchell. On the Universally Judged podcast, we share the stories that you haven't heard from pageant title holders, models, content creators, and actors. In each interview, our guests share a behind-the-scenes look at their life and the lessons they've learned along their journey. This podcast is created in collaboration with Dive Through, a mental wellness company that helps people dive through what they're going through.
On today's episode of Universally Judged, we talk to Nadia Aboulhosn, who is a model, a designer, and a blogger who has amassed over 2.2 million followers across her social platforms. She has paved the way in the curve space. She's an advocate for body positivity and self-acceptance, and she continues to push society's definition of beauty, inspiring both men and women to focus on what truly matters to them and to understand that the opinions of others are not what define us. I think you guys are going to love our conversation. Enjoy the episode. Welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule.
Thank you for having me and thinking of me for this. I appreciate you.
My pleasure. You have been such an amazing person in the space of life for women. You have a very interesting story. I've listened to a lot of your interviews. I've watched your TED Talk, and you shared that you did a shoot for 17 magazine.
Yes, I did.
And I think, did you say that you lied that you lived you lied that you lived in New York City to do this shoot?
Yes.
And you flew there from Florida. So can you elaborate on that? Because I feel like from what I've heard from you, this is one of the starting points of your journey to where you are.
Yeah, 1,000%. I did what I had to do what I needed to do. So when I first started doing social media stuff, it was probably 2010, and I really didn't know what I was doing. I was kind of just putting my pictures up on the internet and seeing what happened from that. And, you know, I always say that when I first started doing that, I never thought as myself as different from anybody else. I just felt like a regular girl who uploaded their pictures. I didn't realize that I was like plus size or not normal.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't think people were going to see me as different because I always felt, you know, if somebody doesn't like me or whatever. But anyway, so the first thing I did was I submitted photos to American Apparel in Los Angeles because they had a like XL competition. And I didn't even really know the girl at the time, but she was another influencer. Her name is Gabby Fresh. Her name's Gabby Gregg, but her social media is Gabby Fresh. And she's like, you should submit yourself for this. You would totally win. And I was like, I don't know, but I submitted them anyways. So I ended up winning that, and I flew to LA to shoot with them. And I remember that was like my first big modeling check. And then 17 magazine saw my pictures online also, and they reached out to me, and they're like, hey, we have a photo shoot Tuesday. Are you in New York? Are you available Tuesday to shoot? And I'm like, yes, I will be there. I had like $200. I had to ask my mom to borrow money. And thankfully she did. And at the time I was working at like a small Middle Eastern restaurant in a food court. So I was getting paid like $8 an hour. I was going to college full time. I didn't really have the money to do that. And thankfully she did. And I remember having to sign out the paperwork. You can't be over a certain age. I don't think you can be over 19 to shoot for them.
Oh.
Or 20 or 22. Well, at the time you couldn't.
Oh,
you had
wow.
to be certain age to like shoot for them.
Okay, and wait, how old were you at the time?
I was probably like 21, 22.
Okay, so you were on that verge of potentially not being able to shoot. Okay.
You know what it was? I remember I was shooting in like August, and they're like, well, it depends on when the issue comes out, which was November. So if you were like 21 or 22, if you were 22 when November hit, you technically couldn't shoot. And I was like, I don't have my ID. Like,
oops.
I'm really 19, you know what I mean? But I obviously don't lie about my age now, but back then I had to do what I had to do, and I was lie about my age.
I love it. But you had the shoot. You did the shoot with 17 magazine. And what was the shoot? Like, was it a fashion spread? What was it?
Yeah, it was just inside of the magazine. They had different body types, and I was like the curvy girl. You know, They had like a girl who had like a bigger bust, a girl who had like a bigger bottom, and then I was the curvy girl, which I don't know how because I don't have a bigger top either. So.
Right. But you did it. And so from there, that came out, that edition, what would you call it? The magazine came out in, did you say November?
Yeah, it came out in November.
Okay, cool. And then from there, did that really like accelerate things for you? Because I then read that you moved up and moved to New York, right? Shortly after that? Okay.
Yeah, so it was around this, it was after I did the American Apparel shoot. That really solidified things for me when I left the American Apparel shoot and I came back home. I was here for probably like 2 weeks, and then I told my mom, like, I really think that I should go to New York. I don't know what I'm gonna do there. I had just finished my AA degree, which is like your basic 2-year degree. A lot of people in like the UK and stuff don't understand it, but it's just like a basic 2-year degree, and I was gonna go to do my 4 years. I have my bases, like my basics to continue college to wherever I want to, or university. But I was like, I want to do something in fashion. The fashion school had denied me because I'm horrible at drawing. So I just like finessed it some other way and just decided to go to New York.
That's so cool. So you landed in New York, and then from New York, you went to London for a shoot. And that's kind of where things got started with your different collections, right? So you flew to London.
Yeah. So, well, the first thing I did was I flew to Canada. I did. Canada was first, and I worked with a company over there just shooting clothing for them.
Really cool.
Yeah. And I did that, and then I came back. And when I came back, they kind of wanted to do a capsule collection. And at the same time, speaking to them, I met with the company in the UK who were interested. And I was like, hey, we should, you guys should like expand to plus size one day, because it's such a great market and we want your clothing. And I was still able to fit in their largest size. But I'm like, you guys got to expand, because it would just be amazing with the kind of clothes you have. And I somehow somewhat convinced them to do it. So they did like a soft launch, and then I was kind of like the face of their clothing. And then we decided to do the actual capsule. So I had 2 capsule collections around the same time.
That's crazy. That is so cool. I love that. And you've said a few things about like being plus size or being the curvy one, or like fitting into these boxes, fitting into what people were kind of like labeling you as. And I don't know if you know much about me, but I competed at Miss Universe, and around the time would have been about a size 8, and everyone was calling me the first plus size woman to place at Miss Universe, the first curvy woman to step on the Miss Universe stage. And I myself had always thought of myself as like a normal girl. I never really thought of myself under certain labels. So when I had all these places and people putting these labels on me, I was like, what the hell? Like for what reason and why? And Ashley Graham actually was the backstage host at Miss Universe that year. And they were telling her, yeah, like there's this curvy plus size girl, she's competing. And so when she met me, she was like, what the fuck?
Ashley's laughing at herself because
and like, and so I guess what I'm getting at here is, why do you think we have this need to label women? Like, what is it about labeling a woman curvy, plus size, straight size? Like, what's with that? Why do we do that?
I don't know. I feel like I really don't know, because I remember in the beginning when people were labeling me like a new plus size model, I'm like, I'm not really technically plus size, but if that's what you want to label me, cool. And now it's to the point of, I don't even care at this point, because as long as I'm making other people feel like they have something they can relate to, then I don't care what you label me in the process. But it's just such a strange thing. And I feel like it's not just about like physical characteristics, right? I feel that people do this in any aspect of anything. They always feel the need to label something. Even like when it comes to an influencer who wants to speak out on like injustices or political situations. It's like, oh, you should stay in your lane, you know? So always, but it's more difficult for people who are like, forget it. Like when my weight fluctuates, forget it. It's like, oh, you're trying to lose weight.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's a mess.
I know exactly what you mean.
You can't, like, you lose weight, oh, you're ashamed to be plus size. You gain weight, oh, your cheese slid off your cracker. You know what I mean? Like people always, you know, you need to get your shit together.
Yes,
you know?
Yes.
People always love doing that. And the criticizing is so out of hand now that
I know. No, I know exactly what you mean. And I don't want to keep bringing this back on myself. I remember after Miss Universe and I was labeled plus size and all these things, there was a picture of me that was shared and I was laughing. So my collarbones were kind of sticking out and all these different things were being shared, circling my collarbone, being like, look at Miss Canada. She loses weight. And people were saying that I gained weight on purpose to make a statement at Miss Universe. That's what they were saying. And I was like, yo, this is me. Anyways, it's sad.
It's strange. It's not even like sad. It's like weirdo stuff.
That's true. That's actually true.
I don't even know how to explain it at this point, just because it's, one of those situations where if there's nothing to talk about, they're going to make something up for a story. Like I remember when I did my collection with the UK company, they're like, oh, they needed press. Mm-hmm. And the hottest person at the time was Kim Kardashian. So it's like, the plus size version of Kim Kardashian, like what is happening? Like
what? Really?
Who has like olive skin tone, dark colored hair, and now I'm the plus size Kim Kardashian. Whatever, cool. If that gives you press and clicks, then do what you gotta do. But it's just so weird, that the press and the media and social media and people who get really invested in this, it's super strange how weird people get.
It is so strange. And I don't understand the need to put the labels on women. And I think that it's just a way for people to, I guess, categorize us and then feel like if we, like you said, if we get out of these certain lanes, it's like, whoa, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to prove?
Yeah, a woman who can do more than one thing. What are we gonna do?
Oh no. And I like too that you shared a little bit about your weight fluctuating. I feel like throughout my life, my weight has fluctuated so much depending on like the season of life. I became a mother almost 2 years ago now, and my weight has fluctuated because I'm either nursing or all of a sudden I'm eating more. Like it happens. That's just life. And so what message would you give to women who their weight is fluctuating and they're feeling uncomfortable, whether they're losing weight, gaining weight? What message would you give to somebody who is on that roller coaster of weight? And I guess kind of how do you feel about that?
Just don't overanalyze things. That's the biggest thing is that, and I'm guilty of that sometimes too. And like, not everyone has like this confidence 24/7, no matter what influencer you follow. And sometimes I would feel the pressure of this, like, oh, I have to be confident all the time. I have to feel good all the time because all these people, like millions of people are seeing me and they come to me for inspiration. And if I'm not feeling confident today, then what am I going to do? And everybody goes through things. Like, so I have PCOS, which just makes my weight fluctuate like crazy. My insulin resistance is like this. So I'll go like this year alone, I probably gained like 15 pounds. It happens. Like it's, you know what I mean? But I'm not going to beat myself up every day because of how I physically look and how other people perceive me. Right. So I guess it's just a matter of not obsessing over it. And if you want to change something about yourself, then you have full control over that. And that's your choice. It's not anybody else's choice. And don't feel pressured from society and from other people or mean comments to change who you are, physically, especially just because everyone in society is doing it.
I love that. You mentioned mean comments. How do you, trolls are just something else, but how do you handle mean comments, mean messages? How do you process that?
Well, back in the day, I used to like respond back to a lot of them because it was kind of fun and I kind of wanted to tell them about themselves. But then I just stopped. I used to have to delete the comments because my followers would go in on somebody. So my whole comment section would become like now harassing and making fun of another person, which I didn't even want either, because usually the people writing the negative comments are sad themselves in some way. So I kind of would shut that down, even if they were saying something mean about me. But, 97.5% of the time, these people aren't going to say it to your face. So I just kind of had to put that, the internet gives you bravery that you usually wouldn't have if you were in front of somebody. So I have now grown up. And I don't respond.
I'm with you.
And I just block and delete the comments. And sometimes I don't even block the person. I just delete the comments and then they forget about me. Mm-hmm. It's like on to the next one, right? But I did deactivate my Twitter because I was like, I deactivated it almost 2 years ago. And I just because every year you have to reactivate it so you don't lose your name. And I was like, I have to keep reactivating it every year because I don't want somebody to get my name and then start typing like if it was me. So I deactivate it. I say hi to like the people that were writing me, while I was gone. And then they're like, oh my God, she's back. And I'm like, no, I'm deactivating it again because Twitter is also super toxic,
It can be so toxic. I also avoid Twitter at all costs because I just can't, as much as I tell myself to not be invested and stay away, it can be hard sometimes. Sometimes it definitely hits close to home and gets a little personal. But I mean, like you said, ultimately these people are sad themselves and they're trying to get some kind of reaction. They're trying to get something from you. They're trying to bring you down. They're trying to tick you off. Like that's their goal. But I don't
it's
know.
hard. A lot of the times it's people feel like you owe them it. Like you owe them an explanation, or like they feel entitled to know your business 24/7 because you're like, oh, well, you put yourself on the internet. We should know. It's like, no, you don't. I don't have to, And this year I started seeing a therapist. COVID knocked me into seeing a therapist.
I love it.
I'm even better now, So yeah, I've been on a, steady path to just truly not allowing people to like disrupt the inner peace situation.
Right, because you don't deserve that. No one deserves that. I saw actually one of your posts, it was like on my way to therapy and you were wearing like this super cute dress, just like strutting. I was like, yes, this girl, I love it. And I've seen a couple of your posts as well. Is Kiwi your dog? That's so
She's
cute.
out. I gotta walk her outside right now and play outside because I know she'd be in here making noise.
She's made some pretty cute appearances. Like you're on your way to vote one, you're like walking along and she's like strutting behind you, like ballot in hand kind of thing. That's so cute. I love that. Okay, let's go back to the fashion aspect because I've read a couple times too that fashion has allowed you to feel confident. Fashion has allowed you to feel comfortable and confident in your own skin. What is it about fashion that gives you that feeling, that makes you feel confident or brings out that confidence in you?
I just think it's like having control over certain things, and yeah, I guess it really is a control thing because then I can just put on whatever I feel like, whether it's something that like today I was like, I know I'm going to be recorded, but I just want to like lounge it out right now.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to lounge it out right now. But then like days, it feels really empowering when you feel good, when there's an outfit you really like and you feel good in it, then that comes out. Like obviously the confidence comes out. If it's something that you're not comfortable in, then it's going to show as well. So I've always been really into, it's a reflection of how you feel for the day.
I like that.
As much as I like getting naked and like sleeping naked and stuff, I really do enjoy clothes,
Yeah, I love it.
Just really get up in the morning, I'll do like my hour cleaning and like my stretching situations, and then I go and I get cute.
I love it. So what does a day look like for you then? You just mentioned your stretching situation. Like what would be, I know in your space, I mean, I'm sure every day could look different, maybe when the world is a little bit more at its norm, if it'll ever go back to that. But what does a day look like for you right now?
A day for me, I wake up, I try to wake up early. The problem was with the time zone situations. Right now I'm in LA. So I get up fairly early here and I get up, I have my morning drink, which is just like lemon water. And sometimes every other day I'll do like a little bit of apple cider vinegar.
Oh, spice it up.
To get everything flowing. I don't drink coffee. I just like taking like room temperature water with some lemon in it. Then I like do my stretches. Kiwi does her thing. Before I do a little workout, I have to shower. I know that's weird. Like I wash my body. I don't wash my hair. I wash my body to wake me up. And then I do like my workout. I usually do like a 20-minute walk in the morning around the neighborhood. And then I just do, because I have like PCOS, they tell you it's better to not do cardio. So I end up just trying to do, weightlifting or squats and things like that. And then I'm bad. I don't really eat breakfast. I eat around like noon.
That's okay. I feel you on that.
I'm not hungry in the morning.
And that's okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then for the first about 2 hours, I force myself not to look at emails. And then when it's about like 9 o'clock-ish, I'll get on emails. And that's like 2 hours of the day.
Wow.
Meetings. I like doing my meetings and my emails early in the morning so that I don't have to deal with it the rest of the day.
And think about that you have to do it and that it's approaching.
Because I'll just like dread around the house, like, oh, I'm really great at speaking, but sometimes there's days where I'm just like, I don't feel like talking to anybody. So then I like mope around the house a little bit. Like, I don't want to talk to anybody. But, then I do what I have to do. So I recently, we're working on another collection with this company that I come out with thigh high boots with. We're working on our January collection, like January, February. So I've been doing a lot of that lately.
That's so cool.
It's all different now that like COVID is a situation, because now it's just home a lot of the times and taking photos from around the way. And sometimes I'll book a studio to shoot things if I need it. Everything right now is pretty much at home.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, so you would have traveled a lot before. Like you would have traveled for shoots, you would have traveled for meetings probably. So everything is mostly at home. How has that played an impact on your mental health?
It's great because I hate flying.
Great.
I hate flying. I've flown so much that I had a really bad experience one time with turbulence. It's really bad.
Oh my God.
Never happened. It was a small flight too, from like New York to Florida, which is like 2.5 hours.
Oh my God.
It's terrifying. So I'm always scared of flying. I used to fly from New York to Canada. It was like an hour flight and to do a meeting, and then I'd come back the same day.
Right. But were you scared then, or did the turbulent situation freak you out?
It was fine when I was going to Canada and like UK and stuff, but it wasn't. It was about 2017. I was flying to go see my boyfriend in South Florida and like Miami and over North Carolina. It was really beautiful outside, sunny. I'm like, what's going on? It's shaking. The lady falls on her knees, like the attendant fell on her knees, and the Coke flew everywhere. So now I'm because when there was small turbulence, everybody around was just like eating yogurt, not caring, like, looking around like nobody cares right now. Nobody cares if there's turbulence this bad. And then it evened out, and then all of a sudden it started again. And then when the lady fell next to me, I was like, that's it. I tried to like open up my laptop, write my mom on the
Mom, I love you. I love you. I'm sorry, it's not funny. It's not funny, actually. And it's
not funny. I was like, Mom, I love you, whatever. When I landed, I was like pale. I was like, oh, pale blue. I
felt like you never wanted to fly again.
I was like, I don't want to. And then there's times that I've literally before a plane, like put on big sunglasses and just cried like in a corner because I didn't want to get on a plane.
No way. I don't know. I used to fly so much and I was never, ever scared. And then after I had a child, I suddenly developed this like flight anxiety. We flew to Hawaii about a year ago and I was crying on the flight and everyone around me was fine. There was turbulence, but I knew like we're over the ocean. Like I was just thinking all the worst thoughts, but I'm like, what's wrong with me? I've never felt like this before. So I do feel you. And what do you do then to cope with that? You cry it out and then be on your way? Is there anything else you do?
It's going to sound weird, but I do like, this was even before I saw like a therapist. So I didn't even talk to my therapist about my flight situations, but I always fly like JetBlue or Delta or somewhere where I can see how high up in the air I am. So that like, this is probably horrible to do, but I can see how far, like how much altitude is happening. And then I usually get an aisle seat so I can stand up and, be able to breathe if I feel like I can't breathe. And then my crying session is usually off the plane, like before it. And then when I'm in it, I try to really force myself to sleep, which I never can. And then I do this like humming thing where like even I'm like, so I don't think about anything to this humming thing. And somehow, and then by the time I'm like, okay, an hour left. Okay, 50 minutes left.
Yeah.
Okay, 40 minutes left. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when we just sit like going down, that's when I just kind of like don't care anymore. And then, oh my God, I was on this flight this one time. This poor girl was having like a full-fledged panic attack, and the flight attendant come over. I'm like, get her ice, put ice on her wrist. Like I knew everything to do. I'm like, she's just having a panic attack. Like everybody calm down. It's gonna be fine. You're almost.
That's awesome. So you were like the therapist in that moment.
Yes, because I was like, I know exactly what she's going about, but my being terrified is like up in the air and take off.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm like, okay, we're going down only 20,000 feet. If we fly out, maybe I can 007 out of the plane.
Rolling out. You got your pack on already.
It's impossible.
Clinging onto the side, just like before you do your last jump off.
Gosh. So.
I love it. Okay, well, that isn't great. I don't like that you have a fear of flying, but I'm happy for you that you aren't flying as much right now. That's great.
Yeah.
That is nice. So it's actually been better for your mental health to be at home.
Exactly.
Oh, that's so. And you mentioned too about the company with the thigh high boots.
Yes.
So I know there's been times for me that I have tried on a boot and it won't go over my calf or my thigh, and I feel like I fall into the straight size category, whatever that means. So why do companies make things that don't fit like the average woman?
I just, at this point, I just think that people either just don't care or they don't want other people to be seen and their product, because there's like really no excuse, especially these big brands, that they have the funds to do it and they have the resources, because if you have the money, you have the resources to do it, and they just don't want to for whatever reason. But it's just like the thing that doesn't make any sense for me too is like financially, it doesn't make sense not to extend your sizes. It just doesn't make sense. It's difficult at first, like trying to understand the fit and sizing, and there's a lot of like trial and error, and I know it takes time, but I was just saying, it's like companies just don't want money. It doesn't make any sense why you wouldn't want to extend your sizes in any aspect, whether it's clothing or shoes,
But then you took matters into your own hands.
I mean, someone had to, right?
And so you've done a few different collabs, but then you also had your own line, right?
I did, and I closed it down because I couldn't do it anymore.
Okay, and so why?
It was hard financially. Like, it was hard. I didn't have the finances to do it like some of these other brands do. And it's really difficult because for me, I had it for 2 years. So I did the collection with the Canadian company twice, then one collection with the UK company. And then I was like, you know what? I was going to come out with the Canadian company one more time again with 2 or 3 collections. And I was like, I want a full range collection. I don't want to just do plus. I want to do like a full range where everybody can just put it on, no question. So it was more difficult because my following is size 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. It's like up. So when I did all these small sizes, they wouldn't sell as well. And it's the higher end stuff. I made everything in America. I didn't like outsource because I felt like ethically I wanted to do everything in California. So I would physically be there with like seeing them make it. We would be, doing the patterns. We'd have the models come in to do fittings. I was shooting everything myself, like with my camera, shooting the models, picking the models, like helping with hair and makeup. Like I was shipping the product. I had one assistant finally after like a year. And with my schedule and everything else going on, like just modeling and doing everything, I was like, I have to delegate my work to someone else. And I felt like I couldn't do that because if it was like an order missed or there's so many different aspects why I stepped away from it, because people are like, oh, you shouldn't give up. Some things you should give up in order to get on to the next chapter of your life. And the hardest part for me that people don't understand was when you make everything in America and you're selling it in America, they would be upset that the price points were a little more expensive. But I can't give you Forever 21 prices and make it in America. Like if ethically I was like, okay, I'm going to go to China and I'm going to do it, then I could give you $30 dresses, but I couldn't financially do that. I would be making no money. I'd be out like.
Oh yeah, no. And I think that's they want the price point, but they want it ethically made. They want it to be high quality. Like they want all the boxes checked and it's just impossible. No,
it's not possible right now. And maybe eventually, but if you want to give people better than minimum wage and you want the fabrics chosen here, you want like the fabrics made here, you want the clothing made here, I have to pay the models to come through and do the sample sizing. I have to pay the models for the photo shoots. Like I couldn't do it.
No.
And even if somebody backed me, like I had people who wanted to buy the product. Like I had conversations with like Forever 21 who wanted to sell my stuff on there. So I was like, it doesn't financially make sense. I can't do this. You know what I mean? And I was like, should I work with someone like Macy's or these bigger high-end department stores who would foot some of the bill? But I was like,
but then you would kind of maybe be back to what you're doing already of like the collabs, right? So then it's like, why not continue doing that? Is that kind of what you felt like?
Exactly. I was like, at this point, because then at the same time, my By Nadia, like my clothing line, became competition to other brands. So I would lose work because I was a conflict of interest.
For yourself.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
So it didn't make sense, as much as I was like, I don't want to walk away from this. Like, I had days of crying about it because I always wanted my own clothing line. But there's only so much you can try to explain to people that the price point isn't going to happen. Right. And I feel for them because there was a time, like, I had like when I was going to shoot for 17 magazine, I lied. I didn't have the money to get to New York. You know, if you don't have $100 to spend on a jacket, then you don't have $100 to spend on the jacket. You know, don't buy my stuff if you can't afford it. You know, like, you need to worry about yourself first. Mm-hmm. So it was hard, you know, and it was hard to walk away from it, but I was like, this is the right choice. And the second I walked away, it took about like 3 months of branding. Like, I'm not doing it, in my conflict of interest. And then the money started coming in again. It sucks because you feel like a failure because you like walked away, but you don't, like, at the end of the day, it was one of the best things I did because then it opened doors again for other situations. And it's a learning experience. So anyone who tries to come out with a clothing line now, I'm like, this is the pros, this is the cons. You're going to have to delegate. You're going to have to think about price points. You're going to have a certain demographic. And my demographic is still, you know, girls who are probably in college who can't really afford it. And, you know, America, where we don't get paid a lot of the time. So people just don't get paid a lot.
Hashtag America. No, I love that. And I think that's really important because I think we see different things all the time about like determination and grit, and that you just have to keep going and going and going, that you're almost at that gold mine or diamond mine or whatever. I've seen this meme like countless times, but
my God.
Do you know what I'm talking about? The guy, like, I feel like everyone's seen that, but I feel like that isn't necessarily the case all the time. And as you said, there was a time that you needed to walk away, and maybe it'll come up again. Maybe in a few years' time, things will change, but that was the decision that you had to make. And we shouldn't be made to feel like failures, though, from walking away from something that is ultimately going to benefit us. But there is that, I guess, stigma attached to letting go of something and walking away. It's
like, you know, like it's a failure. Like, oh, you couldn't keep your business going or something. Like, I will say this, and I'm adamant, you know, about this. I could be a multimillionaire. I'm not coming out with my collection again.
Oh, really? Okay, really?
It was so stressful. It's so stressful. It's so stressful because if like one person doesn't get their order on time, like I'm like,
it's on you. Yeah.
I don't want anyone to come to me for a bad experience. Like, I want people to come to me to feel like welcomed, to feel like at home, related to. Like, I don't want people to associate me with a bad experience if they don't have to, especially someone who's already like supporting me and willing to give me money for my clothing line and to support my business. The last thing I want them to do is have a bad experience. You know, they're just so nice. My followers are just like the nicest people, man. I just, you know.
That's so cute. I love it. And that is true. Some of those things, they're out of your control. And so then, like you said, though, people associate that with you. Like, they don't get their order on time, and then all of a sudden it's all on you. Like, you became the post person to deliver it or don't deliver it, and it's out of your control. Well, I'm happy to hear that, though, because I think that's important. I think it's a lot of people's dream to come out with certain things, whether it be a clothing line or something, because they want, like, that's part of the dream, like that next step of like whether it's merchandise or whatever. So what advice then would you have for someone who's just kind of breaking into the social media space, perhaps? What advice would you have for them just starting out? Because at one point you were just starting out as well.
Yeah. Oh my God, back then was such a different experience. I mean, back then it was like nothing. There was nobody really on social media. Instagram wasn't a thing when I first started, you know? And I think out of all the years that things have really stuck with me is just being authentically yourself and not being afraid to put up a persona because you don't want to be judged for it. Like, I've been with tons of agencies who are like, there's a specific agency I was signed to, and they're like, you can't, you know, I would put up, you know, funny videos of me, like narrowing my face, like shaving my hair on my face, you know, moving my face hairs. And they're like, Kim Kardashian would never do this. And I'm like, what? Yes, I had the worst managers sometimes before. And it was like being in a toxic relationship, you know? I couldn't even do the funny things I used to do. And then like Cardi B comes around and just does whatever she wants and everybody loves it and everybody's hilarious. You know what I mean? I'm obsessed. And it's like, it just sucks that people can't be themselves, whether it's an agency telling them to do that, whether it's other people commenting like you shouldn't post this or you shouldn't talk about this. But people like things that they can relate to. And there's a ton of people who, you know, do shave their face that are women, you know, even though it's like taboo, it's like, yeah, I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you know what now, the term now, what do they say? Something planing with like the single blade, and they make it more like aesthetically cool. You know what I'm saying?
Your face.
That's shaving your face.
That's shaving your face.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about too. But like, I could just use a Venus, you know, situation.
It's the same thing.
Nair, that was not the move. It was the wrong Nair.
Okay. Did you use the too aggressive of a Nair?
Yes. For your face, you should use the one that you use for your bits.
Yeah, no.
Because I put the other one on and I was red for like a day.
Just so on fire.
It was burning.
I love that you said though to remain authentic to you, because I think so many people as well, like I remember someone telling me like, oh, this person has their feed is so aesthetic, it's all one color, blah blah blah, and I was like, well, that's not really me, so why do I have to fit into that box? And I think it comes back to fitting into a box, whether it be our sizes, social media, and I think ultimately, whether it's social media, being in any space of life, remaining authentic to ourselves is like the ultimate message, I feel like.
Yeah. And it's suffocating when you're not yourself. You know, like it sucks not being who you genuinely are in every aspect. I mean, they obviously don't show everything on social media because some things are obviously for me and they're private, but it just sucks not being able to just like be your funny side or be your serious side or talk about like your mental health or talk about, you know, whatever it is you're going through. And you never realize how many other people look or feel like they don't belong, you know, like look for something. I was gonna say it was like look for something to make them feel like they belong to something. And I remember when I first started talking about my PCOS, I'm like, nobody's gonna know what this is or whatever. And the amount of people that had DM'd me or was like, thank you so much for talking about this. It was insane, the amount of people who were going through the same thing as me, like missed periods or like weight fluctuation, like, you know, facial hair. It's insane, the level of people who are going through the same thing as you. And then sometimes we feel so alone, but we're really not. So that's what's great about social media. You know, it can also, as much as it can hurt people's feelings, it can really bring people together. And that's what I hope to always do, you know, on my platform.
I love that. Well, I think you're doing a wonderful job. So thank you for that. Thank you for being so relatable. And I want to end with, I saw somewhere that you said at 17, you were super confident. You didn't care what people thought. Mm-hmm. How did you, like, what would you give your younger self any advice? Because I feel like at such a young age, you already had that confidence. You already had that feeling of like, this is who I am. Take me as I am.
I always say, like, we always do this, like, would you if you were, you know, we always doing like a what if game. I love doing that game. But just, you know, I think my first big like confidence boost was when I was 13. But when I think of my teenage years, I always had like an inner compass that was different. And, you know, I just knew what was right for me in that moment. And it's like really sticking with your gut feeling. So, I mean, yeah, there's things I do back then that I wish I didn't do, or I could redo again. I would do it in a different way. Like everybody is like, if I can go back to the beginning of social media, I would say, oh yeah, I would do a YouTube and then I'd be a multimillionaire. You know, everybody has these things.
True. Yeah.
I've known what I know now. There's things that obviously I would do differently, but I knew for the most part, like who I am and trust myself enough to, you know, make the decisions that are best for me, regardless of what other people think, you know? And I think it's really just being in touch with yourself and your gut feeling, and then setting boundaries and not allowing people to not treat you right or disrespect you. And that's exactly what I did. Like if people made fun of me when I was young, I'm like, doing what I need to do because I didn't value their opinion enough to affect my everyday life. So, and that's the same feeling I still have to this day.
That's amazing. That is so, I absolutely love that. I feel like so many of us could use that message of letting go of what other people think, because it's simply a projection of what they think. It has nothing to do with us, and it doesn't matter, and it doesn't have to impact our lives, but a lot of us let it impact our lives. But thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom. I feel like I have 1,000 more questions I could ask you, because you have so much, you've done so much, and I want to thank you for being authentically yourself, for prancing along with Kiwi in your leopard dress. I love it. Everyone has to see that. I think it was so great. And I guess the last thing, where can we find you on social platforms?
My name is very Arab, so I'll spell it. It's Nadia Aboulhosn. It's Nadia Aboulhosn, and it's kind of the same. I'm not on Twitter. You can't find me on Twitter, but you can find me on Instagram and YouTube and my website, and that's it.
I love it. Okay, amazing. Actually, I haven't checked your YouTube. I'm gonna have to check out your YouTube right now.
I barely post, but some things are funny on there.
I feel like you would have some really great content, so I'm going to check it out right now. Thank you so much, and have an amazing afternoon and rest of your day, and thank you so much. Okay.
I appreciate you.
Bye. Thank you.